Good morning, folks. This is Deb, and it's a fine morning out there. You know, the sun's out today. Yesterday it poured all over our parade, but you know what? None of that even mattered. So we're going to talk about what went down yesterday in Boston and all across this nation, and then what went down last night in Washington, D.C., which, as it turns out, has to be the biggest embarrassment in Donald Trump's long and painful life. Okay? So yesterday in Boston, the Pride Parade was combined with No Kings, and the turnout was massive. It was wet, it was nasty, it was windy, and it was cold for June. But that did not deter any of the revelers and any of the people there to talk about what a piece of shit Donald Trump actually is. Okay? We had a great day. We later on went to lunch at the Sevens, which is a pub on Charles Street. There were all kinds of people in there who had taken part in the events. It was fun being with those people. It was great seeing all the signs. And it could not have, the only way it could have turned out better was if the weather had been better. Okay. Now, there are some things I didn't see that I used to see in pride parades in the past. I do not know if the police rode with the parade like they did before. Um, I did not see that. And actually, I would support that. Okay. This needs to be kind of like a people's thing. All right. And we don't need Boston policemen on their police motorcycles riding in a pride parade. Now, in the past, they've had gay policemen march with the parade, and I think that's a good thing. All right. The other thing I did not see a lot of, which is something I have been saying forever, is there were no Macy's floats, no Target floats, none of that shit. Okay. And I have been saying forever that one of our biggest mistakes as an LGBTQ plus community has been assimilation. We are not like everyone else. Okay. Our lives may be like other people's lives, but we are not like everybody else. And in a nation where we're often pushed to not celebrate differences among people, I think it's a mistake for the gay community to pretend that they are like everyone else. Nobody in this country is like anybody else, quite frankly. All people are different. So I think for us to get back to our roots is a good thing. I did see a bunch of religious people there. There were Methodist people marching, celebrating the gay community. Unitarian Universalists has always been there. They have always been welcoming. Presbyterians, some of these people are new to, being welcoming. You certainly didn't see any Catholic entities there, and you won't. I maintain that you won't. I may never see that in my lifetime, and that's just fine with me, okay? Even though I was born and raised as a Catholic. I am an abandoner of all organized religion. Okay. I don't believe you need to belong to a church or a denomination, or you have to go into a church every Sunday to be a really good person and to be spiritual. Okay. Certainly Jesus didn't exist in a church when he was alive. All right. He was on the streets, he was a hippie. Um, so Boston wasn't the only place where the turnout was massive. The turnout was massive in Boston. I mean, it was huge. Okay. Um, but if you look across social media, the photos from New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Salt Lake City, um, all over the spectrum, there were reportedly almost 2,000 total No Kings rallies across the nation, and it has been called the single biggest turnout in a day against any sitting president. Now, that's something to build on, because I don't want you to think for a nanosecond that we don't have a long way to go here, because we do. We're not even through the first year with this clown, all right? And he is, without a doubt, the epitome, the embodiment of Adolf Hitler number two. Don't let anyone gaslight you and tell you that you can't compare Trump to Hitler because you most certainly can. And we will do that in a later video. All right. His shit is right out of the Nazi playbook. There's no question about it. Now, let's talk about what went down in Washington last night with this big, beautiful military parade. It was a bust of major proportions. A bust. If there were 15,000 people there, it was crowded, okay? But the number looked, and has been reported to be more like 10,000 people. And it wasn't just the rain. So my gut feel about this whole thing is that the people that were there were probably there to celebrate the Army's 250th anniversary, not Donald Trump's birthday. They just happened to fall on the same day. But there was it was an event. I don't know what else to call it. Now, I've seen things that he was humiliated and, you know, he was upset, and that's probably all true. But that won't stop him from forging on with his freaking Nazi agenda. All right. We all need to be aware of that. But we can consider this a victory for the American people because he was expecting 200,000 people in Washington. It was not even close by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it was the complete opposite of that. If he had gotten 20,000, there would have been 10% of what he expected. There were not 20,000 people there that I could see when I looked at the crowds. It was anemic. And it was earned because Donald Trump, no matter what, is not a popular president. He's not even a popular president among the rational Republicans who may not have been able to cross the aisle because they couldn't muster the courage to vote for a Democrat. Okay? Donald Trump is not popular. His policies are wildly unpopular, and the mainstream media refuses to talk about it. They will not talk about it. I looked this today all over the publications that I subscribe to, and I looked all over the online publications, and nobody in the media is talking about what a colossal bust Washington, D.C. was yesterday because they don't have the courage to do that. They are no longer legitimate news sources. The legacy media is dead in America. Nobody wants to talk about that, but I'll say it flat out. The legacy media is dead. They're useless. They're useless. And I will tell you this. When Donald Trump's reign is over, and it will be, okay? It will be. All right? It may not look that way now, but it will be. The legacy media is going to have a massively difficult time recovering any legitimacy among the people in this nation. And that is as it should be. I will be back probably tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Have a great day.